In this video I am going to show you 3 different Valentine's gift ideas that you can make for your friends and family using a mason jar. Now this is just a pint-sized mason jar, and what you're going to do first is just fill it up with some treats, any kind of treats that you want for your whoever you're going to give this to, keeping in mind whether they have allergies or whatever. I'm just using a combination of Valentine's heart-shaped candies and the little miniature chocolate bars to fill my mason jar. So this first craft is going to be a gnome, and what you're going to need is a styrofoam cone. You can find these in many different places. I actually got mine off of Amazon, but you can find them at just about any craft store. And you're going to want a foam cone that fits the top of the mason jar. And then you're going to need a piece of fabric. I'm using felt because felt is just easier to work with. It doesn't fray, etc. And you're just going to run a bead of hot glue along the foam cone. And you're going to want to make sure that you put this kind of at an angle. If your fabric isn't quite big enough, I wished that this felt piece that I had was a little bit wider for this particular project, but it wasn't, so I had to make the best of it. And I'm just running a bead of hot glue every so often as I wrap the felt around the cone. And here I'm just adding a little dab of glue to the very tip of the cone because it's a little bit gappier than I would have wanted. I should have probably wrapped the felt tighter. And then what you want to do is you want to cut the bottom of the cone off, the bottom of the felt off in an even circle all the way around the bottom of the cone, leaving probably maybe an inch of overlap of the felt. And then you'll want to just measure it on the top of the mason jar to make sure that it fits properly and not too tight. Now I'm taking some yarn and I'm loosely wrapping it around my hand. I had made another one of these, and I practiced with the yarn, and wrapping it tightly around my hand made the beard too short. This is obviously going to be the beard, and I'm using this yarn that's kind of white and black combination, and I wrapped it about 10 times around my hand. And then I'm going to take more of a solid gray yarn, and I'm going to wrap that around my hand about 5 times. I thought the combination of these two yarns made it look a bit more realistic. And so then after you've got it wrapped, you want to cut another little piece of yarn to use to tie the top of the yarn together. And once you get a knot tied in the top of the yarn, then you're just going to take your scissors and cut evenly through the loops of the yarn. And then you're going to want to take your hot glue gun and run some hot glue along the base where the foam and the felt meet on the opposite side of where the seam is of the felt seam, because the seam is going to be the back of the gnome. So you just want to put that hot glue in there, press it down, make sure it's secure, and then measure it on your jar again to make sure it still fits properly. And then you're going to want to add the nose. I am going to use a bead, a wooden bead. Now you can use a pom-pom or anything round. that you want to use for the nose. And if you use a wooden bead that has the hole in it, you just have to be a little bit more aware of how you put the nose on there so that the hole is disguised. So you just put the hole up underneath the rim of the felt, and then you kind of tuck it into the yarn of the beard so that the holes are hidden. Now it is time to embellish and to make it look really cute, and I have these felt hearts that are stickers. They just have a peel off sticky back, which makes it really handy. Got these at the Dollar Tree, and so I'm just going to put the white one on top of the pink one, and then I've got the sparkly ones. I'm going to put a smaller one, sparkly one, red one, on top of the white one, and then you peel off the other final backing and put it on the hat, up in the top of the hat. And at the very tip of the hat, I wasn't real happy with the way the felt looked on its own, so I went ahead and used 2 of the medium-sized red ones, and I did add a little dab of hot glue because I wasn't sure that the adhesive from the sticker would really do a good enough job holding it in place. And so I put one on the front, and then I put another one on the back, and I sandwiched them together, and I sandwiched the tip of the hat together on there. And then as a final little thing to do for this, you want to add a little hot glue on the back of the rim of the lid, and make sure you're not getting any of the hot glue on the glass jar itself, because obviously you want to be able to take the lid off. And then you go ahead and just trim the beard to whatever length you want. And then you lift up the front of the gnome under the beard area, put another dab of glue and pull it down, and you want the actual hat of the felt to be glued to the rim, not the beard. And here is project number 1 all done. I think he turned out super cute. So for project number 2, you're going to do the same basic thing to start with. You're going to go ahead and just add treats into your mason jar, whichever kind of treats you want. So I'm making this one kind of more with a man in mind, and I'm also making it to where you can reuse this mason jar for something else later on if you want to, by using sticky glue dots. But I'm starting off with this plaid ribbon that's kind of wide, and I measure it on the jar and go ahead and just cut it off. And then I'm just going to use the sticky glue dots to adhere it to the jar. And I'm putting it so that the raw edge is going to be covered. So I put the raw cut edge down first, and then I wrap it around, and I have a folded end of the ribbon that will overlap the cut end, so everything looks nice and neat and clean. And of course I have to use some glue dots to glue the folded part together before I glue it onto the jar. And I have this solid red ribbon that I am going to use to layer over the plaid ribbon, and I'm just going to cut a clean edge, and I'm going to do the same exact thing. I'm just going to overlap it and layer it so that the cut edge is underneath, and I'm also making sure that both seams are in the same place. The plaid ribbon seam and the red ribbon seam. So all the seams are on the same side of the jar. then to add a little bit more of a rustic element to this, I'm going to take some jute twine and then I'm going to layer that on top of the red ribbon. I'm just going to wrap it around about 3 times and then I'm going to maybe 4 times, and then I'm going to go ahead and tie it into like a shoelace bow. And then I'm going to take the lid out of the ring, and I'm going to take some of this burlap fabric that I have, and I'm going to go ahead and just put some glue dots on the metal ring. I'm all out of frame a little bit, sorry about that. Here, I'm back in frame again. I'm going to add some glue dots to the top of the lid, and I'm going to go ahead and glue this to the burlap fabric, and then I'm going to cut it out in a perfect circle all the way around the rim of the lid. Then you just put it back on your jar, put the ring back on it, and I had to smooth out some wrinkles there to make sure that it was nice and smooth. And then I'm just going to take one of my sparkly hearts, the largest size, these are stickers, remember, and I'm just going to press that on the top of the lid just to add some sparkle and some color. And this one turned out so nice, and I think this would be perfect for any man in your life. It's not girly, it's kind of manly, but yet it's still very Valentine, and it was super easy to put together. So project number 3, you start exactly the same way with a mason jar full of candy. Now this one's going to be completely opposite of the last one, and this one's going to be super girly. And I'm going to be using this fabric that has these tiny little pink and blue hearts on it. So the first thing you want to do is you're going to get some batting, and you're going to need a double thickness of batting, or else use a single thickness of a thicker weight batting. And again, I'm using the glue dots, and I'm going to glue the lid of the jar to the batting. And of course you need to use glue dots to glue the 2 layers of the batting together as well. You can use a hot glue gun for all of these projects if you want to, but I just chose to use the glue dots for this. And kind of like you did with the burlap, you're going to go ahead and just cut the circle rim all the way out around the lid of your jar. Then you're going to want to take your fabric, and you're just going to take a single layer of the fabric. Originally I thought maybe I was going to do a double layer, but I decided to go with a single layer. And you're going to just cut out a square that's big enough to fit over the top of your jar. Now in this footage you will see that I do not have the batting on there. I changed my mind after I got this part of it done, and I added the batting later because I just didn't like the way that it looked. It just didn't look right without the batting. Once you get the ring put back on your jar over the fabric, then you're going to want to cut an even ring around, cut it into a ring around evenly. Now if you have pinking shears or some kind of decorative shears, that would look nice too. I didn't have that, I just had plain. And as you can see in this footage, there's a little bit of a gap between the bottom of the lid and the ring. And this is when I decided to go ahead and add the batting to it to fill up that space. And this is the lid with the batting on it, and I'm going to go ahead and add some embellishment again with these felt stickers, heart stickers with the adhesive backing. I'm just layering a white one and a pink one together, and I'm placing that on top. And you can see how much better the lid of the jar looks with the batting. And then I'm going to go ahead and add some of this burlap and lace ribbon onto the jar in the same manner as I did with the other, the manly one that I did with the plaid ribbon. Same exact method. And then I decided to take some of this antique looking lace, narrow lace, and add it to the rim of the jar. And in this instance I am going to use hot glue. There wasn't really any way to use the sticky dots. I mean, I guess you could have, but it would have just left like a stickiness through the ribbon that you don't really want. So I went ahead and just decided to go ahead and make this more of a permanent thing, although you can peel hot glue off of metal surfaces. So if you really wanted to take it off, I'm sure that you could. So at this point I thought it was lacking a little something, so I had these other stickers, these other little Valentine stickers, and they're also felt. And so I was going to try to use this cupcake one, and it just didn't work, and so I decided to go with this little bow, put that on the top, and then I decided to use the cupcake stickers on the body of the jar. And as you can see here, I have some of this blue and white twine wrapped around there, and I thought I could try to make it look right and try to get the stickers to go like either on top of it or underneath of it, and it just didn't work. So I ended up just going ahead and cutting that ribbon off of there, putting the cupcake stickers on the lace and burlap ribbon, and then I put some of the blue and white twine at the top, around the top of the lid instead. And this one turned out super cute too. This one took a little bit more of finagling around and had to redo some things a few times, but when I finally got it all done, I really do like the way this turned out. I can see you giving this to a little girl. She would just love these, or a best friend or something like that. Any girl or woman in your life would love to receive this for Valentine's Day. So here they are, the 3 projects that I did in this video today. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments section below which one of these 3 Valentine's ideas you like the best. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to leave a comment in the comment section below. Thanks so much for watching, friends, and we will talk to you later. Happy Valentine's Day!